Hello, and welcome to the Strategic Planning Process Model course. We will discuss step three of the strategic planning process, which is where we dive into adding detail to the strategy in much more measurable and actionable ways. In step two, we discussed how to use various strategic frameworks to create a strategic hypothesis. We call this the business strategy proposition. This step in the process takes the strategy hypothesis from the prior step to the next level of detail by using different tools, producing detailed strategy maps with goals, key performance indicators, and action plans. Let's get started. Let's start this by understanding the information we have available to us at this point in the process by once again answering the what, why, and how. What does a company want to achieve? The company would like to achieve the strategy. What is the reason for the strategy? Well, the business goals explain the strategy. Why does the company want to achieve the strategy? The reason the company wants to achieve the strategy is because there is a need to achieve real, tangible, and measurable business results. Tangible results like cost savings, margin increases, and so on, all measurable by KPIs. So KPIs help track and validate the results of being accomplished. And how will the company achieve these results? The answer is obvious through execution and delivery measures that can be measured and tracked. This is done with clarity on action plans that incorporate budget, timing, and other details to realize the actual goal. So, the important information we have to develop the details we need for our strategy are our business goals, KPIs, and action plans. With the VNC Strategy Designer platform, we automate and use strategy maps to define, align, organize, and track your goals, KPIs, and actions. Let's take a look at the overall strategy map and then dig into the alignment of business goals, KPIs, and action plans. First of all, what is a strategy map? A strategy map is a visual representation of an organization's overall strategic goals and how they relate to one another through KPIs and actions. It should tell your story all on one page. There are several static templates that represent what we're talking about here that you can find on the internet to download. A strategy map is created within our strategy designer platform at the very beginning of your strategic planning process and is used as the primary reference material throughout the entire process from foundation through execution and beyond. The strategy map on the VNC Strategy Designer platform is not static. It's automated and it updates automatically from various inputs. Let's take a look at the strategy map at a high level. Here is a blank strategy map template we use on our platform that's available to all of our members. Let's walk through this. At a high level, the strategy map is divided into four perspectives: finance, customer, internal business process, and learning and growth. Aligned with each perspective are questions you can use to start your conversations to help decide on strategic goals and what perspectives they belong. Business strategic goals and hypothesis using frameworks from step two of this process are added here as the main title of each box within each perspective. Each box is a form of a container where you can further decompose the goal into KPIs and action plans, making them executable and measurable. Goals are mapped into the four perspectives from the bottom up using cause and effect logic chains. Arrows between goals are used to illustrate the cause and effect relationship between the objectives in our strategy map. By following the paths of the arrows, you can see how the objectives in the lower perspectives drive the success of the higher ones. For example, We need internal goals to satisfy customer goals, and customer goals must be met to satisfy financial goals, and so on. These casual relationships are central to the idea of strategic planning and management within our strategy map. Your designer platform strategy maps have strategic themes as well. They represent the three or four or more big picture strategic focuses in your organization. Usually, themes or priorities such as operational excellence, customer intimacy, and or product leadership, just to mention a few examples. Many static templates you may download from the internet try to vertically group goals together under themed columns across your entire strategy map. We believe that trying to group goals vertically in theme columns on a static strategy map adds an unnecessary level of complexity and confusion and really hard to manage with your strategy map. After all, a strategy map is used to help visually understand your strategy on one page, so adding unnecessary confusion to this visual seems to go against the goals. So not only is VNC strategy map automated, we also use color coding within the goals to visually indicate themes, adding this directly to the map. The themes were determined in a prior step when we developed and documented mission, vision, and values in the VNC Strategy Designer platform, so the data is automatically incorporated in the strategy map. Remember, VNC Strategy Designer platform automatically generates strategy maps as you go through the process, which is a major benefit of being a member. Here is an actual sample of an early day strategy map generated for our company, VNC Tech Group, when we started our mission. We can see a few lines under each goal indicating containers for actual actions and KPIs. They're blank right now at this stage. These are the building blocks in the strategy map of our VNC Strategy Designer platform to show KPIs, actions, and more about each goal. We'll cover how these building blocks get used and populated later in this course. Back to the chart, we started our mission with simple themes you can see outlined at the bottom of the chart. These themes were defined via the Mission Foundation template during step one of this process. Our goals were mapped by perspective using cause and effect linking that you can see by the arrows, and we heavily use the questions you see in this strategy map to help with the matching. For example, in the learning row, we believe employees must be aligned to our goals as one of the ways our company learns and improves to achieve our vision and mission. Hence, this goal gets allocated to the learning perspective. As far as the cause and effect linking arrows, let's look at another example in the map. For VNC to enable easier strategy planning for our customers, we need to deliver an internal effort around automated strategy tools, community, and expert services to the customer. So, the goal of easier strategy planning for the customer depends on an internal effort of automated strategy tools, community, and expert services. Furthermore, we need our learning effort to include employees aligned to our goals in order to achieve the internal goals. Let's take a quick look at a few best practices for strategy mapping that we've developed over many years with most of our clients. I always start with customer needs and goals and work from there. We have to learn to do something internally to satisfy customer needs. We have to satisfy customer needs to get financial or stakeholder goals. This is why I like starting with customer needs. It all comes together there. Make sure you have well thought out customer needs, as these should not be confused with internal or financial goals. We'll go over a few business goal guidelines shortly in this presentation. Use cause and effect logic throughout this process. Make sure you have customer goals that are truly customer goals when you start, as I said earlier. Again, if you implemented frameworks from step two properly, you should have a lot of this information already. The logic works like this for linking. The customer doesn't care, for example, if you sell a lot of products to increase revenue. They care about getting the best products that meet their needs to improve their productivity, revenue, or something within their company. If they got the best products that meet their goals, then your financial goal of selling more products and increasing revenue will also be met as well. Further down the line, the customer will only get the best products if we do something internally. Now you see the cause and effect process working. Be sure to use questions in the form to help you line up those goals in the right perspectives with the right cause and effect logic. The tool helps you with this as well. Another best practice is to make sure you're considering all types of customers from external to internal. You don't want to forget that you may have internal customers who work for support who are in daily contact with external customers. So make sure you treat these internal customers as you would external. One of our examples later in this course, we use employees as an internal customer. Furthermore, as noted earlier, nonprofits don't necessarily have a financial goal. You should substitute finance with the term stakeholder in your charts. So, nonprofits, that may also include government, would map their primary goals around services value delivered to other stakeholders instead of financial. We said earlier, if you recall, we have three main ingredients to our strategy maps to help make them more executable, measurable, and be more valuable to the business. They're business goals, KPIs, and actions. Let's dig deeper into each one of these ingredients, starting with business goals. We know from our strategy frameworks discussions that business goals, or what we have called strategic goals, are generally derived from strategic hypothesis and framework step. Be sure when you're adding business goals to your strategy map that you are aligning these goals to at least one of the few strategic hypotheses you may have come up with from these previous steps. This is important to maintain traceability of your goals and hypothesis, as well as provide initial linkages throughout the cause and effect logic in your map. You can do this right through the container of the VNC Designer Platform strategy map functionality. Much of this is automated as well. Additionally, make sure your goals are strategic in nature and not strictly operational. You want to make sure you're looking at goals that provide incremental improvements and not just more of the same old stuff. You have a mission and vision statement. You should use them and use them as filters as you align your goals. Make sure your goals pass this filter test and align to your mission and vision. Finally, also make sure your goals are realistic. They can be achieved, measured with clarity. This is very important. As you can see from a small sample of our VNC strategy map we have shown before, we have an initial version of our strategy map with goals driven by strategic hypothesis. We also have initial cause and effect linking. We are starting now at this point in our time at VNC Tech Group. We were starting to see a big picture of our strategy that contains hypothesis and high level goals. But we have more to do at this point to make this plan actionable and executable. This means the strategy must be detailed enough to communicate and cascade across the company so it could be executed. Otherwise, execution will likely fail as there's be probably a lot of disagreement on the meaning of most of these goals and how to execute and measure success. To make this actionable, we need a way to achieve these goals and resolve the challenges. We can resolve these challenges with performance indicators and strategic actions. Let's dig deeper into these concepts. So let's start with performance indicators, or More specifically, metrics and key performance indicators, which we've used acronyms like KPIs. KPIs and metrics are often considered the same thing in day to day business contexts. However, while they work in similar ways, they're not used for the same purposes. It's important to understand the difference. A metric is a standard system of measurement. We probably all know that. Anytime you measure anything, you're probably using a metric, whether that's monthly revenue, sales conversion rate, number of customers, the average age of your customers, could even be the number of people on your team with green eyes. That's a metric. A KPI is definitely a type of metric, but specifically a metric that can measure performance and has deemed to be very important to the company. Always remember, all KPIs are metrics, but not all metrics are KPIs. So let's break this down more. As already stated, KPIs measure performance or progress towards a goal. In order for it to be complete and effective, it must also be quantitative and laser focused on specific business goals and objectives. Furthermore, a pivotal element to consider is the word key, meaning KPIs only track what is truly relevant and very important for the company's strategic decisions. Essentially, a good KPI should help you and your team understand if you're making the right business decisions. So KPIs act as a map to business outcomes and are strategic indicators that will move the company forward. In summary, a KPI has to be important, it has to measure performance, and it has to be quantitative. We need all three of these, otherwise, it's simply not a KPI. We've created a repository of over 90 KPIs commonly used by many companies from startups, e commerce, finance, marketing, SaaS companies, and much, much more, complete with examples, definitions, use cases, and so forth. This is available to all of our members at all times on our platform. But I have to say, although these 90 KPIs will help and they're very effective, they may not provide the level of clarity that you need as your business is unique and you may need additional modified KPIs. So it's still very important you understand KPIs very well and how to define them based on your specific goals and objectives. This is why let's talk about that. Let's talk about how to define KPIs. When I work with clients in defining KPIs at a high level here, I ask them initially four questions. Question one: what are the success factors that you'll need to reach your goal? Question two: what are the expected outcomes of achieving the goal? Question three: how would you quantify success factors? And finally, question four: how would you quantify external outcomes? As we go through this process with our clients, we represent quantification of success factors as expected outcomes and leading and lagging indicators in our strategy designer platform. To add more context to this, leading and lagging indicators are qualifiers that assess a business's current state as lagging indicators and predict future conditions as leading indicators. So companies can achieve accurate projections this way. Once we define the conceptual KPI, the KPI needs a well defined measurable scale to be able to objectively be measurable. In other words, giving a set of rules, anybody measuring the team against this specific KPI should come up with the same final score. And while you're at it, also make that score a single finite number and provide an indication of its meaning. For instance, let's take something that is already easy to measure with pure numbers. The revenue, for example, the revenue brought in by your sales representatives over a period of time, say 1 month. That number in itself isn't a good KPI, as there is no real scale to measure it against. To make it finite, we can look at it as a percentage of the total revenue for the month. but that would pit your sales reps against one another. And we really don't want to do that. Instead, you can look at each rep's performance against their own results from the previous month and provide a key of interpretation based on the overall projection for sales growth. For example, you could say that a rep has met their KPI if their sales have grown by 5% or more, while they had an excellent month if they reached 8% or more. This is a good finite KPI. The sales figure we talked about earlier simply isn't. Also, measurability is more than just numbers. Keep that in mind here. In domains where emotions are involved, such as customer satisfaction, KPIs might be trickier to measure. However, there are systems that can help to translate this inherently subjective data into objective measures. For example, or for instance, you can adopt measurement scales such as Net Promoter Score, or otherwise known as NPS, or you can rely on AI systems which perform sentiment analysis on your customers' messages. Whichever way you go, it's important that the number or scale you come up with is relatable. The person or group being measured needs to understand how they can directly influence their score. In the sales case we just discussed in our example, the monthly growth is easy to calculate and the goal is self explanatory, 5% or more. For the customer satisfaction case, assuming you choose to use NPS, Net Promoter Score, the team needs to understand how this works and how their behavior can directly impact the final score. In the end, KPIs are not there just to tell us how the business is going. They're a tool to drive better performance by fostering the change that leads to it. Next, we need to complete the strategy detail by aligning actions to strategic goals. With our strategic designer platform tool, we call action plans tasks. The properties of a task are shown here. This is this is our task template used with the strategic designer platform to define tasks within your strategic plan. The task properties highly depend on the strategic model chosen for your company, but typically they are defined by name, description, owner, budget, timelines, and status. Let's practice KPIs using this approach. From a business proposition or hypothesis generated from one of the frameworks from step two, we found that employees that are happier are more productive. From this hypothesis, we can come up with a specific goal to improve employee satisfaction. What are the expected outcomes of improving customer satisfaction? We can expect that the number of happy employees in their roles at the company will improve. We will quantify this by using the metric average number of happy clients measured in regular employee surveys, and this will become the lagging indicator. What are the success factors for improving employee satisfaction? Let's focus on employee turnover rate here. How can we quantify employees' turnover rate? We can use the metric average turnover rate measured percentage, and this will align with the success factors and become the leading indicator. Finally, what are we going to do to improve employee satisfaction? We need to prioritize and take action to improve areas of concern for all employees. For example, we need to find ways to understand areas of concerns and areas of satisfaction directly from employees. So we create a task to conduct regular employee engagement surveys and align HR and leaders to activate changes, providing visible and real changes that improve employees' experience with the company. This task has a budget of $12,000 and an expected duration of 2 months. This goal is now properly detailed, and we could place it in the customer perspective of the overall strategy map. When it's in the strategy map, we can start determining cause and effect linking for the goal, as you see here. It will contribute to the financial goal of increasing revenue. Happy employees are more productive, innovative, and efficient, which impacts revenue in a very positive way. It will be contributed by internal business process perspectives through updating internal processes. Improvements to process and ways of working, enabling employees to go faster and avoid redundant rework, for example, makes for happier and more satisfied employees. It will be contributed by the learning and growth perspective through enhancing employee training programs. Employees with access to better training to enhance their knowledge and careers show that the company cares and willing to invest employees at all levels, hence happier employees. Here are a few more examples of KPIs you can read through for your reference. We have created a repository of over 90 KPIs commonly used by many different companies, and they're all available to our members. The repository is useful again, but I encourage you to read through this and also understand how to create your own KPIs. Nothing beats truly new things than practicing with your new learnings. You should challenge yourself and practice the strategy detail by following these learnings using the Strategy Designer platform tools and templates. What is the business goal? What is the business proposition or hypothesis? What are the expected outcomes and success factors? How should you quantify expected outcomes and success factors? And finally, what are the tasks or action plans? If you're a VNC Tech Group member, you will share this challenge with your subject matter expert and analyst, where they will provide feedback and discuss better ways to quantify and align your goals.